Okay, you are good to start.
All right, cool. All right, so it is 5:34 p.m. Today, February 20th, 2024. We'll call to order our special meeting to go over the rules and procedure subcommittee. So you want to do the pledge? Should we do the pledge? Yeah. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And then Susie's not here, but we should do a roll call, I guess.
Roll.
Yeah, yeah. Might as well.
You're a jack of all trades.
He's for Mary Poppins, you know, with his own bag and he's like, oh, one man.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so Counselor Boudreaux here. Counselor Fuller. Counselor Sinatra.
Here.
All right, we're good to go. Public participation is next, but there is no public in attendance.
So I guess I'll skip that unless someone pops on last second. We can always put that to one, that's no problem. So we'll move on and we'll go to appointment of subcommittee chairperson.
I think I'll make a motion, or one of us can make a motion, is that?
Yeah.
So I move to appoint Counselor Tiniakos to chair the Rules of Procedure Subcommittee effective February 20th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Got a second. Should we vote on it now? Or is it between us three?
You do have to take a vote.
Yeah. All right. Matt.
All in favor?
I'll take it.
Aye.
All right, cool. I'm not gonna use the gavel. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right, and then we'll move on to review of the town council rules and procedures adopted February 22nd or February 2022. And we both have reviewed this.
We have,
Yeah.
Miss Lauren, if I can ask you,
Yeah.
would it be helpful at a meeting like this for us to read through the rules of procedure for the public to reference? Is that up to us?
It's really up to you.
Okay,
The document is available on the website
Yeah.
in the current iteration, the February 2022 document, so they can go back and review it and see what, you know, items that you are specifically referring to this evening. But I think, you know, when we get to any
Amendments.
items that you'd like to review, I can certainly, I think it would be easier actually if I just shared my screen onto the Zoom, and then they can actually see like what we're talking about in the recording of the video, if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah,
that
that's
sounds
great. Yeah. Visuals are always nice.
great. So then do we want to move directly into amendments?
Yeah.
And you know, reviewing those as needed?
Sounds like a
great.
plan. Yeah, we'll move on there. And we could just start, we'll just start from the top. And if anyone has something they want to change or address or have a conversation about, we'll just do it there.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I'll move to amend section 3. I believe it was the section that Lauren had referenced to, just to keep things kosher, which was to include the town manager or their designee shall attend all meetings, etc. So I move to include or their designee in the language of section 3 of rules of procedure.
Yeah, I could second that. Gail, do you have anything? Yeah.
that's good.
Cool.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye. So we'll go ahead and add that language in there. Section 3, anything with sections 1 or 2 with you guys that you have any change for? No?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
No, I don't have any notes that I need.
I like to amend section 4, 7 a.m. instead of 7 p.m. We can start regular meetings. No. Definitely not.
In my former town, we had one evening, one morning.
Wow. I'd also like to move Counselor or Mr. Chair to amend section 10, paragraph 2, the second and third line from 3 to 4 minutes. Both the
For public participation.
yes, both the
Okay.
letter reference and the number reference. So from 3 to 4, strike 3 and include 4.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Okay. Perfect.
Right.
All in favor? I know, it's just funny. All right, we could do that there.
And then, Gil, did you have any additional amendments or concerns? Please.
I reviewed some others and I don't think it's clear, and I don't know where these things go, but public posting of the meeting,
Mhm.
like it should be posted with the town clerk a minimum of 48 hours before any meeting in a manner conspicuously visible to the public. I don't think we have that in here.
It looks like we have in section 8, but that's only in reference to special meeting.
Right. I mean, it's a requirement that it be posted a certain
Yeah.
number of hours, and it should be in here.
But it's not in here.
Okay, so,
Yeah, but-
so now we should probably figure out, you think that would go under section 7?
Additional items on the agenda.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think section 7 makes
Yeah.
seemingly the most sense.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
No, take your time, yeah.
You want me to read?
Good
the
catch.
Wording?
Yeah.
Well, this is fun. I don't know this one. Public notices of all council meetings, except in emergencies, must be posted with the town clerk must be posted a minimum of 48 hours before any meeting and posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public. Or available to the public, I don't know, something like that. I don't know if you guys want to.
I'm in favor of it. I'm almost certain that language is somewhere else that I've read. But I mean, I agree, if it's not here, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it's posted somewhere else, you might as well put it in here.
Yeah.
And then-
It's supposed to be the just general operating procedures.
Yeah, seems like a pretty basic thing.
And then maybe we can amend section 8 to match in its reference to
Of the special
the
meetings.
public, yeah, to the special meeting, just so the language is consistent.
Makes sense. Okay, all right, so I'll second
You want to make
that.
that motion?
Yeah, move that we include the language regarding public notification of all meetings into section 8 of this document.
Or was it section
7,
Or
7 and 8.
7 and
7
Yeah.
and 8.
All right, second.
We could even make a new section 7 if you wanted to make that its own, give it priority, make it its own section.
Well, maybe at the end you can kind of,
Enact.
yeah, like maybe, because maybe we'll find that doesn't, whatever changes we want.
Yeah, that's a
Whatever.
little bit, yeah.
I have a couple more.
Yeah,
Please.
There's nothing in here, I don't think, about the minutes. That a written record of each council meeting is required and becomes part of the public record. Minutes must contain the date, time, and place of the meeting, members present or absent, blah, blah, blah. And minutes must be formally accepted by the council at a later date. It doesn't say anything in here about keeping minutes of the.
So that probably will take its own section then too.
I'm trying not to expand on this, but
Well, no,
No,
it's
that's great.
good to have it in there, yeah. I
Absolutely.
mean, we do it, but it's good to have it on paper.
And it's weird, we do have section 9, obviously, the order of meeting agenda
Yeah.
includes reference to the minutes,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so in terms of order, we can say that can perhaps write between section 9 and section 10 as it exists, so a new section 10. And then, shift as needed.
And the beauty is that we were recording this meeting, so I can go back, Gail, and read
Oh,
listen to
okay.
what you said.
Great.
and-
or if you want, I could give you a copy of what I pasted. So I move that we include reference to mandatory minutes and approval by council.
Without objection, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful.
Under public participation, it says, because it's something, I don't know whether you guys have noticed it, but in my experience here, there's always been confusion about letters that come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it should be clarified that emails will only be read into the into the record if brought forth by a council member, or if the person, and if the person submitting the email has requested
Let it be
that
read.
it be read into the record.
Oh,
Because
okay.
here, it makes it look like everything.
That's what we had this conversation a few weeks ago when we didn't know, because we've been getting emails and we don't know what to read
Yeah,
out
they
and
know
what not to.
The person always says, please make this part of the record, or else they don't want it part of the record. But I think we should say it.
Do they have
So
to
we
list
do-
their name and address as well, though, right,
Yeah.
too? Yeah, so if we get an email that doesn't have that, we won't be able to submit that, so we should put that in there.
So why don't we add then, so the letter or email shall identify the author by name and address, and if he or she is representing a group or organization, and must request inclusion.
Yeah.
Or certainly if they don't request inclusion, then it's up to the counselor's discretion.
And then maybe, well, you're gonna have minutes of this meeting before,
Yeah.
we're not gonna go, so if we want to wordsmith it, once she.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely. We can have
Yeah,
another.
So we
day.
can meet again after after we kind of words.
Just to finalize everything, yeah, that's totally fine.
If I could add, if you have other amendments, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
While we're on that section, what was unclear to me has been for some time is there's reference here in section 10, if a counselor receives an email 24 hours before the day of the meeting, but was unable to forward before the deadline, et cetera. And so what that says to me is public participation via, email correspondence that is submitted 24 hours prior to a meeting is within the bounds of consideration for public participation, whether they say it or, like you say, a counselor says, I'd like this to be included, whatever it might be. But that's not explicitly said. It doesn't say, 24 hours, get your public participation in if you'd like it to be read into the record 24 hours before a meeting, et cetera.
Which
So this is section
paragraph
10.
are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is section 10, the
Is it like the first?
one,
second?
two, sorry, my copy's kind of, 1, 2.
Yeah, sorry, I
Three.
don't want to intrude it.
You're good. The fifth paragraph.
Well, that's what it should in
One,
individual.
Yeah, so right now it
Four, five.
says.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So maybe, and we can wordsmith some more, but maybe something like, just a clarification that if you'd like if you'd like your letter to be read into public participation, your email correspondence, obviously you can say that you'd like it to be. And it's up to a counselor's discretion. If they receive it, they can include it. And then on top of that, it needs to be in within 24 or before 24 hours of the meeting.
But just change the tense because the writer, or the communicator, rather than you must do this, you must do that.
Yes,
It's
yes.
Not addressing the.
Absolutely, absolutely. Member of the public, citizen.
Right.
Yeah.
And while we're on there too, public participation. And then I liked this paragraph, says, speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging improper motives to any person during public participation. Town council members will not respond to any public comments or questions during public participation. However, they may respond during remarks by counselors after, because you know how people, they sit there and they ask you a question,
Yeah,
and they expect us to be able to dialogue.
Have a back
Yeah.
and forth.
So something like that.
I think I agree with the first part of your motion or your amendment. I think the second part, yes, is it the most appropriate that there's a back and forth, and does our rules and procedure kind of negate that opportunity? Yes, and I think that's a good thing. But occasionally, very, very occasionally, there is a back and forth, and it's not necessarily negative. It might just be, I looked for those minutes in the previous meeting and I couldn't find them. Okay, well, Susan, if you could, just look back at those minutes. Would that be considered an exchange? And if you prevent that, something very simple like that.
Yeah, what's happened, you'd have people sitting there and say, well, when did this happen? And we're just sitting there and I want an answer, Mayor, I want to, and just the thing is, we'll respond to your inquiry at the end of.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we say now.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we
But
say.
it should, but people, I think, expect sometimes a dialogue when there really isn't.
Sure.
And any questions or comments, can be, or will be responded to during the council comments, something like that.
Sure.
I mean, I think having that language there is fine. And then if one of us is like actively listening and just like, verbally agreeing with
it's
someone,
happening.
I don't think.
Yeah,
anyone's
or
gonna make a
maybe
big
add
stink
something
about
like
that.
at the chair's discretion or something like
Yeah.
that. The chair may.
That's,
etc.
that would be.
Yeah,
fine.
I think that's great.
We'll incorporate something along those lines and I'll make you a copy.
Great.
in the meeting. But I agree with you, something that kind of sets the expectation of what public comment is.
Mhm.
Because according to Robert's Rules of Order, it's not it's not
Yeah.
a question and answer session, it's just
Sure.
time for the public to give their comments.
Sure,
So
yeah.
it's definitely.
And we've had people
Yeah.
Yes.
do that and then they didn't even know that
Right.
wasn't how it worked. So yeah, maybe having.
And I think it's great to include some reference to decorum and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right behavior and so on.
I'll second that.
One other that has been, I don't think it has happened since you guys on here, but maybe just to add under public participation again, after the 4 minutes thing, speakers or the public cannot yield their allotted time to others in order for others to expand their 4 minutes.
Oh,
I've seen that.
does that happen?
Yeah, I remember seeing that at previous meetings. So I mean, I don't, it's Kathy, Counselor Gonzalez. I don't know that I'm especially opposed to someone yielding that time.
But then it gives one individual 8 minutes versus.
Sure, but it's being expressed by two individuals. They may have co-written a letter, for example. I've seen a co-written letter or something like that on an issue, and maybe it takes 8 minutes to read. It's quite a long letter at that point, but maybe it takes 8 minutes to read. So one takes the first half and another takes the other. And I don't know that that's.
Well, I mean,
wrong.
I've seen like a couple come up and then, so, and that one gives the 3 minutes and the other continues, but it's fine, because it's two different individuals.
Sure.
On the floor, but if one individual, because somebody can say, let's say there's a very controversial issue and 5 people say, I'm allocating my time to let him speak.
Mhm.
It could get really good, it can get out of
I
control.
understand.
So let's put a caveat on it and why don't we limit it to maximum 8 minutes then? So then like maybe one person is allowed to give their time to one individual.
So they may only yield.
I mean, yeah, one
Yeah,
person's
at
able to
once.
take someone's time
Per speaker.
only once, and then, they'll get 8 minutes, and that way there's a hard cutoff with it.
My only opposition to is, from a community organizer background, I hate to bring it, but I've pulled this trick a couple of times in some
Yeah.
meetings myself, and frankly, it's very effective. At least I've found, maybe I'm a little biased, but I've found it's very effective to get a full message communicated that may be otherwise limited by the structural barriers. And so I don't know that I want to preclude someone the opportunity to do that.
But right now we do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right now. it's like
Right
that.
now, but
Yeah.
right now we do prevent folks from yielding their time.
That's why I wanted it codified.
But we do, it seemingly, if it's not codified, we do based just on the discretion of the chair
Yeah,
or the council. And so
Well,
I see what you're saying though, because like if there's 5 people in the audience and they all say, oh, I'm giving all my time to this person, and then they're up here for 24, 25
sure,
minutes.
yeah, that's not.
Or somebody
Yeah.
really doesn't have a lot to say, but their buddy is up there and they're running over time and, oh yeah, I'm gonna give, when he really didn't even intend to come up and
No, I
speak.
understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
but I have no problem allowing it. Like, I feel like if there's an agenda item, and you gotta think too, there's two sections of public participation. So in total, this individual can have 16 minutes total to talk.
Yeah.
For
That's
him,
true.
4 minutes. And I feel like if we're talking about agenda items or whatever, like 16 minutes
That's a
to
long
speak
time.
is a
It is
pretty
a long
decent amount of time.
Unless we just want to not mention it, we just deal with it as a.
Yeah, but then.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, but I feel like
I mean-
if we deal with it when it comes up, then it's gonna
Well,
turn into a
Yeah,
bickering
you don't
thing.
want the chair to decide one
during
person can do it and the
session,
other
yeah.
can't, and so on.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like if they decide to allow it, now people expect that. Whereas if you put something in here for them to guide them.
Yeah.
it might
yeah,
be
there's
beneficial.
parameters
Right.
to do it, yeah, you don't want to go loose.
So I put a note.
Yeah.
And kind of both ideas that we have, and, you know, we can look at the draft again and just kind of tune what we think.
Yeah,
We want-
we
we
collaborate,
want-
we caucus about it too, and see what everyone else
Yeah.
feels, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
Because I think you bring up a very good
yeah.
point. It can very easily confuse. You
Yeah.
bring up a very good point.
yeah.
So, yeah, we can keep wordsmithing that.
Nice.
I had a comment on this section. and
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Probably sent you a little overkill on.
No, that's
No, I
right.
appreciate, yeah.
I actually only saw one comment on my copy. Were there many other
Oh,
comments?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
see
yeah, there's a
anything.
whole,
Six.
there's
You
a
said,
whole.
you know, I submitted my comment. I said there's only one here. Well, that's
Yeah.
great, but, oh, wow, okay, great.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a
my
whole-
mistake.
Here.
Oh, wow, I must have not opened it on Word.
Yeah, so, in, I'm trying to look at the paragraph, so it's helpful on section 10. Looks like paragraph 3, it references the chair. But we don't really reference the chair in another time, just kind of for consistency, do you want to define the chair at the beginning as the mayor?
Yeah.
Or the deputy mayor, and then use the chair throughout the document, and
Yeah.
we go through and make those changes?
I think that's a.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did I just have it here? For section 7 with the special meeting, Lauren's comment here, adding the caveat that we're able to waive the rules, I think should be there. Just so it doesn't seem like if we do waive the rules at some point, we're doing whatever we want. You know, I think
Sure.
adding that, you
Yeah.
know, we're working within, you know, the
Yeah.
rules and procedures. I think that's good.
And then, you know, to the extent, again, that we can revisit the discussion on public participation, we'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going through the rest of Lauren's comments here. I know I looked at this like a week ago. I should have looked at it again.
Yeah, so going back up, I'm sorry, do you want to start at the beginning with my comment?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That's all right.
So I did have an overall comment that I think I sent to you, which was, there's a lot of him, her, he, she, them, there. If you're okay with that, I'm gonna go back in and do they, them, there.
Yeah,
Okay,
Absolutely.
so going back up to 4, regular meeting. I wasn't sure if we wanted to make any changes of that, of making it less restrictive, that it, you know, in case any future council want to change. What if something happens and we decide Tuesday's just not the right night to do it? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, but the only thing is people like consistent public, think,
Yep.
Do
They're
you want
used
to see that?
and then we would just have a special meeting if
Yeah.
it was a different day.
and we've had meetings start at 6 or 6:30 before, but everything I looked through, it's, in fact, last night I went to some meeting, I can't even remember where they changed the time. And they're like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this doesn't preclude that we can't change it, but I think everybody should have an expectation.
Yeah.
And then the next, if you said if there's a next council, well, then the next
Then they
people
can
that are
open
sitting.
Yeah.
Can I ask, just on that section, so it does say unless otherwise determined by majority vote of the full council. Is that, I mean, I think that's great, obviously. I don't mean to suggest otherwise. But does that happen now? Do we, you know, if suddenly we say we want to cut that meeting, we
Yeah.
don't take a vote as a
Yep.
council?
You would take a vote. So for instance, if your second meeting in December was like December 26th,
Sure.
you would vote to cancel that meeting. Or when you get your annual schedule, we put notes on there if like it falls on a holiday, so like you're gonna adjust it depending on the holiday. And so I think that that's totally normal.
During the
Perfect
summer,
language.
there's usually a vote to cancel one of the meetings in July or August, but it
Oh,
is.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
As far as your comment for the agenda setting.
Yeah.
Does agenda setting usually happen on the same day or like prior to the council meeting? Is there like, do you guys have a set time when you all meet with the majority leaders and minority leaders?
so the agenda setting meeting generally happens the Tuesday before your council meeting. And my thought here was just adding something in there that kind of gives the expectation. So even if the agenda setting meeting gets changed, maybe it's more so that if you want something on the agenda, you should give, you know, that agenda setting subcommittee of the council at least 7 days notice or something like that. So people aren't emailing on Friday morning when the agenda's due by Friday at noon.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Trying to
that's
separate
crazy trying to get the agenda updated. So that was, again, take it or leave it, you don't have to incorporate it, but just a thought of maybe kind of giving a timing expectation, like it's expected that if we would like to add items to the agenda, they would be done stuff, you know, they would do so at least 7 days.
Sure, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so would we add then some language directing folks to either contact the whole council at our whole council email or contact the majority leader or minority leader
Yeah.
within that time
Yeah.
period, 7 days, et cetera? Yeah, okay.
So I would just say, like, we could add something, so right now what it says is a member of the town council will have an item placed on the next agenda or future agenda by contacting the manager, majority or minority leader of the town council, or one of their designees prior to the agenda setting meeting. We can add something that said, this is like anticipated to be held 1 week prior. We'll put 7 days, so we'll keep everything consistent with like the
Yeah,
number.
Like that.
Or 7. Days in advance of the fall council meeting, and then we can, you know, we can finesse this.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not like a hard set in stone thing, because I don't want to bind up. Yeah, I don't want to put them in a bind like in the future, you know what I mean? So as long as it's like there's flexibility with it, then I think that should be fine. You go with that? Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, do we need to vote on can we just take a vote at the end?
I think it would be appropriate if we talk about it now, and then if we
Yeah.
come together again, then we could just have one vote,
Right.
to agree on all of it.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
All get together, just say yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
because
yes.
this would be all over the place if we're voting on everything. For the special meetings, your notion about the town manager being able to call a special meeting, has that ever happened?
Not that I know of. And it's not, we wouldn't generally give that authority to, I mean, statute says.
I mean, technically they, in the rules they do, right?
Yeah, statute says the chair or at least 3. So.
I mean, I can't think of a circumstance, you know, I'm thinking of an emergency circumstance.
That's what I'm thinking of, and I
Yeah.
know, remember when we had the oil spill and
Yeah,
stuff?
sure.
Yeah.
That was called by the town manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd imagine
It's
though.
rare, but
Sure.
I think we should, God forbid if something horrible happens,
Yeah.
you should have the
Maybe.
ability to contact everybody and say, we need to meet.
We need to.
Yeah. Which happens, and they would be, you know, technically, I don't know if statute allows it, so if you're okay with it, I'd like to just do a little more research into that one.
Okay. If anything, we could add like, you know, in cases of extreme,
Right.
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Or even if the town manager can't unilaterally call a meeting, they can recommend a meeting.
Yes,
Be
yes.
convened.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happens, is
Okay.
they basically will reach out to the council, recommend or say, we need to have a meeting, pick a day and time within the next 12 hours or whatever.
As you can imagine, emergency circumstance, the
Yes.
mayor and the council would, you know, be jumping at the chance to meet as well.
We all go on vacation at the same time. Okay. Yeah.
Going back up to the item before that, inclusion of agenda items. It says, when possible, the agenda along with relevant resource material will be distributed to the town council members 3 business days prior to the meeting.
We get it Friday.
Yeah, we have Friday before
Yeah.
Tuesday, so technically 2 business days,
That's
yeah.
the question.
Yeah,
Why-
that's-
I don't know if we're technically adhering to that now, so maybe we take
3
that
days.
out.
I think it's 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this, so
Strike
the business
business.
is 3 days, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, I would hate to, if we're not adhering
If we're
to
not
it,
doing-
let's not keep it in.
Yeah.
we'll go yell at the police department.
Yeah. The other item that I had for review, and I can't remember if it was you who said something to me about it or not, but I know that this was a concern of staff, is in that same paragraph, under no circumstances will any item be added to the agenda later than 9 PM or 2 hours after the beginning of the meeting, whichever is earlier. Is that something that you want to review, or do you think that that still serves the council? Putting that restriction on adding to your agenda?
Yes, I mean, my view is, I think in the interest of transparency and the opportunity for the public to weigh in on any given agenda item, I think it's important that is there. I mean, under no circumstances will any item be added to the agenda later than 9 PM. I don't know that we would move to amend the agenda
So.
after a meeting has begun and after that portion of the agenda has passed, you know, at the
One of the-
beginning.
And at the beginning of every meeting, we say it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know that we would go back
Yeah.
and amend it, you know, at 8:30 or something.
The only thing that I could picture happening is if you had, let's say, the executive session to talk about a settlement agreement that you didn't think you would be in agreement on, so we didn't add it to the agenda. And then you came out of executive session and now we're going to have another meeting to approve a settlement agreement. Again, like it's, you know, 1 in a 100 chance of happening. So it's something that had come up, it's something, and again, someone on council, and I can't remember who asked me if that was something that you guys would be reviewing this evening.
On the other side of that, though, I could also see whoever is in the majority, using that to add something at the last second, not giving the minority a chance to actually review it, and then just pushing it through too.
Yeah.
I could see that being an abusive kind of thing, so I don't know if I particularly like that. I'm
We
a
would
risk
never
guy,
do.
yeah, no, I'm not saying
We
that
would
we would
never.
do that, but yeah, I don't want the possibility of that to
Yeah,
even be a
absolutely.
thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
I just feel like this is a really restrictive statement.
Yeah.
and It's fine, to keep it. I just want to be, you know, I just so it's in the mindset of anything in here that's restricted is.
My perspective is like, if something like that were to happen and we just need another meeting, like, we just need another
Yeah, and
meeting, you
we-
know, like.
and
What's another
we've-
meeting on
that's
top of
been
what
our
we're doing?
operating theory,
Yeah.
it seems, so the past months, you just have another meeting.
Yeah, like,
And
yeah.
that's been fine.
Comes with
Yeah,
the job.
I would think, and, you know, obviously we'll come back and talk about all these revisions, but I would
Yeah.
think striking that
Perfect.
section. What else we,
Under special meetings, just the next paragraph, I just suggested, the last sentence says, no matter shall be considered. Maybe my note doesn't make any sense to myself, hold on a second.
Yeah, I read that too, and I was like,
I might have, like copied and pasted a comment, but
I wish I could make this bigger.
was your,
Oh, that was,
Yeah.
that was the item we talked about at the beginning of the meeting that I'll review. Just adding something that says unless by a waiver of the rules and procedures, public participation, you know,
Right.
will be, it says will be limited to the subjects on the agenda, but let's just see if we can add something in there that kind of codifies what you did at your last
Mhm.
special meeting and allows public participation on other items
Yeah.
as long as it's statutorily allowed.
great,
So I'll keep that note on there
thank you.
for myself. Okay.
I do like your for the next one down when we were going over the order,
Yeah.
about the resignations, tax referrals.
The idea of the consent agenda.
Yeah, I like that for the tax refunds in the minutes. But I think we should keep the resignation and appointments separate.
Okay.
Just so we can acknowledge those who are being appointed to things, like, give them their time and then resignations as well, so the public can like see like if there's an open position they might be like interested in. But I mean, for taxes and stuff like that, I feel like no one.
What's a consent agenda?
So a consent agenda is like a separate agenda that's attached to yours. So what you would do, and it would be one motion and vote. So someone would say, I move to approve all of the items on the consent.
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
So the item would be on the agenda, it would say consent agenda, and then it would have A, B, C, D, whatever, however else you wanted to put it on there. And all of those items would be moved as one motion and second, so we're not spending a lot of time kind of bogged down in the minutia.
In fact, we should maybe, even if we want to, we should try it at the next meeting that we have, because we might go through all of these revisions and have the chance to review them before the meeting. And then just be able to make the
Yeah.
amendments in one fell swoop.
We would then have to define consent agenda somewhere in the rules, right, then, to
Yeah,
define like what it
We can
is.
go on.
Yeah,
Make myself that note.
yeah, and then, yeah, we should talk about what can go on, what can't, because same thing, again, you don't want someone to like sneak something onto that agenda, you know what I mean? And then,
You can still talk about it. You can
Yeah.
still, so if you were to include, for instance, the resignations and appointments, you would still say, as part of the, motion and second to approve the consent agenda, and then someone could say, just so, for the public's clarification, the consent agenda includes resignations of these 4 people from these commissions and appointments of these 17 people. So you can still go through it. You just, instead of having to go through it and have 15 different motions. You just have one motion.
Sure.
And that's allowed under Robert's Rules of Order. And what I'll do in the definition section is I'll just pull that definition directly from Robert's Rules, so it's clear what the consent agenda is and what it accomplishes.
Great,
nice,
good idea.
anything to save time, right?
Especially since people are gonna be talking for 15 minutes.
Going down.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you say something? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. We'll see.
So going back to section 10 of the public participation, there is language in here that is contradictory that I gave you notes on. For instance, there's one section that says the person may state if they are representing a group or organization, and then the next paragraph it says they shall state
I
if they
saw
are
that.
representing a group
Yeah.
or organization. So pick one.
Shall is probably
Yeah.
the best way to go. Yeah.
Shall, which I agree with. The other thing is there is this 24 hours or 1 day, it says, 1 day before. 24 hours prior to the day of the meeting. So what does that mean? Because in my mind, that is open to interpretation. The day of the meeting is Tuesday, so it's 24 hours prior to Tuesday.
Or 24 hours prior to.
Or
7 p.m.
24 hours prior to 7 p.m. Those are 2 different things. So I don't, whatever one you want, but let's just pick one definite, like one.
I think when it was discussed before, I think it was prior to the start of the meeting.
That's what
Yes.
that's what I.
That makes sense, right? Yeah,
I agree.
put a hard number on it. 3 minutes, we already did that. Chair, we talked about that.
The other question that I asked, and this is something you may not know, I may have to go to tech on this. So it says written communication by letter or email should go to that town council at newingtonct.gov email address. And in the next paragraph, it says, email should also be forwarded to each individual counselor. But you're already getting it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, do we need, it's already being forwarded to you. So if it goes to that email address, is someone supposed to forward it again to all of you?
Well, I think my only hesitation would be, it seems that paragraph, that this is a way to allow public or a comment to be included in public participation if it's emailed to that general email or if it's emailed to a specific counselor. and
And
to
then-
allow either case.
And then the counselor would email
Right,
to.
because
Yeah.
some cases that those happen,
Which
they
should
should
they
feel more
instead-
comfortable with one.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Should they instead email it to the town council at newingtonct.gov, so it goes to everybody plus whatever staff is assigned to it, so we're not missing anyone.
Maybe they should, but I don't know that they,
Yeah, or
Will.
someone just
Some
doesn't know
might-
that email exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and we
I
can,
mean,
you know,
like one of you get the email individually,
Oh,
instead of having to own it, of having to send it to all 8 other people.
You send it
plus
to the
town
council.
manager, plus, you know what I mean?
That makes
Can
sense.
we just add something there that just sends it back to that same generic email address so it's easier? And then we take like the human error out of it, God forbid somebody
Somebody
doesn't
gets
send
left
it,
out,
like
yeah.
7 out of 8 people, the last person feels they've been neglected.
yes. So I mean, and it's kind of curious to me. So like you said, the start of that paragraph does say it should be forwarded to that email address.
Yeah.
And I see what you're saying. My
Yeah,
mistake.
just keep it consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And kind of take like that human error aspect out of it, the possibility for the human error. And then just in the very last paragraph here, the last sentence, especially the letters and emails in their entirety will become part of the official record. We say that in the second paragraph. So if you're okay with it, if you're okay with me kind of going through and redlining everything that I think is a redundancy, because there are quite a few, I can do that.
Yeah,
for the
cleaning it up
next
is
iteration.
always nice.
And also a question on this. So for example, we would, we'll receive an email. This happened recently, a couple meetings ago. We received an email and Counselor Page said this individual emailed us and, just wanted that to reflect, but the email was not read into the record. It was just tagged, flagged
Like,
that this person
add it
has
to the
email.
minutes. Yeah.
And so is that proper? Do we need to read the
Well,
email into the record?
if we go back to what we said earlier, as long as
It
they
was
say.
specifically changed to do that, because, for example, again, around budget time or whatever, people were sending in templates.
Oh,
I
sure.
want you to do this, I want you to do this, and you'd have 52 reading of emails like
Yeah.
that. So, but what the intent was, I don't know whether it says, it's supposed to indicate whether they were, it would, like regarding the budget, they were in favor of passing the Board of Ed budget, or it was something, concise, but they were
Sure.
supposed to say what the letter was about, but I don't know whether it says it here.
So then, I guess with that being said, and that's good, with that being said, when it is included in the record, I go back into our minutes and I read through our minutes and I don't see that email there. Where does that email live? Because, for example, when we referenced that gentleman, this email, this gentleman had emailed, I went back into the minutes of that meeting and that email was not there.
Not there.
So,
It should have been.
Yeah. it
okay,
should
so
be.
I just want to confirm, that's where it would live.
Yeah.
Okay, in those
Yeah,
minutes.
it should be attached,
Yeah.
basically almost like as an exhibit at the end
Yes,
of the minutes.
okay,
So if it's not, that's something that we would have to fix through the town clerk's office.
Okay.
So if you can remember what meeting that was.
Absolutely.
So when we get those emails,
Yeah.
and we forward it to like the general email,
Yep.
is it getting to the clerk's office so that they get added?
Well, it would technically be the minute taker who would be responsible for that. So she would be responsible for submitting the minutes and, in
Okay.
draft form or something.
And that's Susan, right?
So
Is she part
it
of
may
that
not have been
general
Susan.
email?
that, I don't know, so
Alright,
that's.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
maybe we have to get her on.
or it
there.
may just not have been
See what
reviewed.
happened.
forwarded, yeah.
Yeah, but then if we put her on that general email, she's gonna get
I was gonna say, I wouldn't recommend. it,
communications
but
from, yeah.
I do think, maybe I don't know if you need to codify it in this document or if it just needs to be put into practice. That if there is, an email or a letter that needs to be attached to the minutes, someone in the town manager's office is responsible to getting that to, the clerk
Yeah.
within 24 hours of the close of the meeting or something,
Okay,
we can put that into practice upstairs for sure, and,
Okay.
and we should, because that shouldn't be happening, those items should be.
that's good to know, that's good to snuff out, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
If anything, we'll have like the minority and majority leaders, like, take the helm on that. I feel like, you know, what I mean, have them have the responsibility of making sure that happens. Nice, look at us. Look at us. Love that.
So every problem in town we just solved, right? Good to go.
Can you expand on your comment under voting, section 11, where it says just clarify?
Yes, so this was something that came up at your last meeting, where you were, when do you allow the public to speak? Is it
Yeah.
in between moving to add the item, or is it after you add it before? So I just had given you clarification for the steps of how it would be allowed under Robert's Rules of Order. So it currently reads, read motion to waive and take action on, read the made motion, allow for public participation. So I added in, read motion to waive the rules and allow the new business item, vote on that motion, then call for a motion and a second on the actual business item, and then you would allow the public participation. Their participation is part of your discussion of the actual item, not to be, it's not, yeah, and so there was like that wishy-washy last week where it was like, do we allow the public to talk now? Even though like what's being voted on is waiving the rules, and it's no, it'd actually be, you're allowing them into your discussion after you've motioned and seconded the actual business item. So if you're okay with it, I will just incorporate those clarified steps, which just adds to what's in here and makes it kind of clear as to when the votes happen and then when the public discussion would happen.
Perfect.
My comment in that first sentence just is kind of,
Oh, yeah.
it says no vote shall be taken on an agenda item under consideration of new business, which feels very, again, restrictive and permanent to me. So I just kind of took the next sentence of the first sentence and updated it to say, unless waived by a 2/3 vote of the council members present and voting, no vote shall be taken. So it's just, you know, it doesn't seem like it's not allowed. And then, oh, hey, the second sentence says, oh, it kind of could be.
Sure.
Just make it clear.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I did suggest, and again, this is just a suggestion, feel free to tell me no way. No ordinance, resolution, or vote except a vote to adjourn or fix the time and place of the meeting shall be adopted by fewer than 5, which is true.
I'm
And
sorry,
then
you want just put a section number if you.
It's right below
sections.
voting 11. Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
we're
no
still
problem.
on voting.
Thank you.
I did suggest if you wanted to, you can come in and be part of our public work.
Yeah.
Where applicable, an affirmative vote of no fewer than 6 may be required, only because you do have some items that require supermajority vote. So I don't, you can take it or leave it that, that's not like a make it or break it item.
What do you guys think?
So you're saying, I'm sorry, could you repeat your suggested amendment? That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
So it currently says no ordinance, resolution, or vote except a vote to adjourn or to fix the time and place of the next meeting shall be adopted by fewer than 5 affirmative votes. However, my comment was, you will have some items that require a 6-person vote. So do you want to add a sentence that says, where applicable, an affirmative vote of no fewer than 6 may be required?
I think that's appropriate.
But then that leaves kind of a gray space of what's applicable. Does it not?
But isn't that,
Is that in Robert's rules?
well, and isn't it in other parts of the rules of procedure, we specify what those 2/3 votes
Yes,
are?
yes.
So then maybe we add reference to, add the language that you suggest there, and then add
And then
reference
like
to,
circular references to where it's actually spelled out.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I just would hate, so like, my thought process was just for clarity. For instance, there's one item like on personnel with the town manager that you have to have 6 votes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So this, as it says in just that sentence, it makes it sound like all votes can be approved by affirmative votes.
Yeah.
But we know that there are times where you need to have 6. So
Yes.
that was my comment. So I will include that, but I'll go back and add circular references to the places where we actually spell out where you need 6 votes.
That's great. Yeah, I remember a month in, looking into the rules of procedure and it being somewhat confused on that. So I think that's
Yeah.
a great clarification.
My next comment, and again, feels.
Yeah, this is funny.
Roll call shall be in alphabetical order by counselor's last name and the mayor shall be the last name called. Again, it's just kind of like, do you need that?
I like it, to be honest. I think it just adds like a little bit of like order and like a set standard, but I mean, if you guys don't care about it, then.
I don't feel strongly, but if you find
Yeah.
that it's not in typical
Yeah, actually,
rules of procedure.
There was one town that has it, they switch it up from the alphabetical order.
Oh, really? Do
every
they?
other vote.
Is that right? Okay.
And I would love it.
We could do that, yeah, we could do that.
Like, oh, I didn't feel.
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
We could do that. I'm okay.
Maybe
No,
just,
no, it's-
I mean,
We could have fun with it, yeah, why not?
I don't know that it needs to be specified if you want to remove it.
I guess my thing is that can still be your practice.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can actually codify.
We
it.
could remove that and then we could tell Susan that she could.
Surprise us.
Yeah, so you can just do it.
Astrological.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Good,
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
She's probably gonna look at us like we're crazy.
That's,
Yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's fun.
give Susan something a little more so she doesn't
Exactly.
kill us when we screw up the agenda as we often do.
Shall happen and like, God. forbid
Sure.
you forget your alphabet.
Sure.
Time limitation, which is the next section. I just said, let's just review it for the necessity of today. So it currently reads, no consideration of any agenda item which may include a vote being taken shall commence after 10:30 p.m. except public participation, executive session, and adjournment. This rule may be waived by a 2/3 vote of the council members present and voting prior to 10:30 p.m. It is the council's objective to complete meetings by 11 p.m. when possible.
I always thought that last sentence was it is the town council's objective to complete meetings.
We're here
That
past
appears
11 all the
nowhere
time.
else in this
Yeah.
rules of procedure.
Yeah.
It's very wishy-washy language. I think the town council shall, whatever the appropriate language is, complete meetings by 11 p.m. I don't see an instance where we would go over, and if there was a potential.
We do all
Well,
the
but
time.
if there's a,
Yeah.
and I think that's inappropriate. I think going beyond 11 p.m. is highly inappropriate.
So my thought on this one is, we don't put a time limitation on other boards and commissions. For instance, planning and zoning is a board, and no matter what time
It's
you're
on
in.
till midnight.
Yes.
They did change that.
They did?
After we were once told 2 a.m. for Culver Street, we did correct that.
10:30? Okay, well, I stand corrected and you're fine.
So we did that for Culver Street.
Yeah.
That was.
Because my initial thought process on that was, if we're not doing it with other boards and commissions, why would we restrict council, which is, not to downplay the work of any other board and commission, but kind of, you're the tier, right? You're the top tier meeting, so if we're not restricting others.
Yeah, my opinion is, if something, we need to meet until we finish the business of that evening.
Yeah, yeah,
And if it's 9 o'clock, fine, if it's 10:30, fine, if it's midnight. But
well,
if it's.
and piggybacking on that, the idea that you can't, so again, going back to that example I gave before of an executive session for a settlement, the meeting itself was lovely, and you had participations and presentations, and now it's 10 o'clock and we're just getting into executive session, and you have a settlement that has to be approved, similar to one that we did last month. If we get out of that executive session after 10:30, you can't vote, even though it's on the agenda. And now you have to hold a special meeting for something that you planned on approving or not, but something that you planned on taking action on.
It's because
This
time.
item restricts you from taking any action.
So the only concern I have, and I understand that we will go over and that other meetings do go over, there's reference to public participation here as well. And so there's discussion, it says here, Oh, I just lost my place. Oh, here we go. No item, there may be no item except public participation, executive session and adjournment after 10:30. If we're moving, if we continue to have a meeting after 11 PM and then there's still an opportunity for public participation, we're now outside of it needed to happen before 11 PM. It needed to happen before 10:30 PM. And so could we specify maybe that if there's anticipation of a meeting going beyond 11 PM, that the rules should be waived to allow public participation before that executive session or something like that? Because, I don't imagine that most people would be here after, and I don't want to counsel, I don't know that anyone would ever do this, but I don't want the opportunity to run out the clock on public participation.
Yeah,
That's
So-
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very fair.
especially because, you can have an executive session that starts at 9, and you assume it's gonna be 20 minutes, and it goes
Sure.
2 hours.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
Sure, and in that case, that's tough, it happens. But if we know, it's 9:30 PM and we're going into an executive session that we anticipate is gonna be a rager, then I think we ought to look at having
Mhm.
public participation before
I
that.
like that.
That's what they did with Culver Street. Like a filibuster, they just give everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm speaking, and you can speak.
Sure.
What do you guys think about pushing the time back for voting from 10:30? I would be in favor of extending that. So in those cases where we do go into executive session, we could actually take action on it after the fact. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of having some sort of big vote in the middle of the night at midnight by any means, because that just
Sometimes,
looks
right.
bad, but I think
But if you.
Pushing
give
it
the public
back.
Notice by putting it on the agenda that you plan on taking action. on
Yeah.
something, it's not, we're not adding to the agenda.
Right.
We kept that other language that restricts you from adding.
I think that's fine if, again, the public participation can occur before the
Yeah.
start of executive session.
it would have to be at maximum 11:59.
And I
We can't
understand
go
the
into
filibuster, I
next
think it's a
day.
very good point, but,
Vote.
if folks aren't gonna, you don't wanna rob folks of the opportunity to do that or run the clock.
Yeah. So again, that's something I'll kind of finesse language and redline it to you guys, and we can talk about it at the next meeting when we want to get together,
Great,
which is kind of codifying the thoughts that we've had here.
Yeah, if we don't have to drag things out, for another special meeting, something like that, then I'm all here for it.
Executive session, which is the next item, number 13. Town council may enter executive session as permitted by the general statutes. The motion must state the reason for the executive session and all those who will be in attendance. What the statute and FOIA actually say is that you have to keep an accurate recording of everyone who's in and out of an executive session. So do we want to codify something that just clarifies that for everyone, that you actually are supposed to keep a recording of the time that anyone enters or exits executive session?
I think that's.
Okay, and I think
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
language that finesses and
Yeah.
that kind of.
I mean, most certainly if it's required, like
Yeah.
a part of the statute, then yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Counselor expectations, number 14. Again, this is just one of those times that I said, the third sentence, it says, when a member attends virtually, their camera shall be active at all times. Can we just change that to should? Like, God forbid, they just need a minute to like turn their camera off. There's just a lot of like really like restrictive shall language in here, so I just feel like, silly, but.
I remember the last time we had our virtual, my rabbit was like chewing on my computer wires and I had to turn off my camera, so I didn't look like I was going crazy in my house. I know,
But
I know.
the purpose of that was there was one or two members
That never
who we didn't
put it
even
on.
know
If they weren't actually
if they were
on.
listening.
Oh,
or not.
really? Yeah, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, the General Assembly has something like this too, and it's there so that that someone's good relative who has a similar voice isn't
Right.
voting for them, that they're actually sitting in the chair. And that I think is a good reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Like,
maybe,
because it says should be active at all times,
Mhm.
like, so, I mean, the caveat
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah,
If we change it from shall.
And
we
if-
feel like
if
there's any-
since that's the expectation.
Sure, and
like,
if there's
it's a
any
little bit
question,
leeway where it's not
yeah.
and I mean,
so restricted.
if someone's abusing that, we could just call them out and
Yeah.
And
call
we have
them out and
other
see their
things around it
response, you
for
know?
them and so on. So
Yeah,
that's-
they-
I think that's,
They would wanna risk that like during a meeting, you know, it's on them.
we're not gonna kick you off for attending to your Bundy. That's it. Meeting. It's gotta go.
I know.
He's done.
That freaking thing.
Thanks. So that gets us through my comments and suggestions on the document as it currently exists. I don't know if we want to go back and if anything has other items, Gail, you, I know have some
Yeah.
stuff typed up.
I don't think I saved these, but I'll fax it or scan it to you tomorrow. if you want.
If you don't mind, I'll just take a picture of it before we do.
Oh, yeah, okay. But yeah, no, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
We're gonna have to, we
Anything
should
else?
set another meeting date.
Yeah, yes, I
I
think
have
it's,
also just given you guys at the beginning of the document and an example of a conflict of interest item that you could add to the counselor, that last section on counselor expectations. I don't know if you want to put anything in there on conflict of interest, but I did give you an example of my former town governing board language from their policies and procedures document.
Isn't this though, like, we signed ethics or something? Isn't this somewhere else?
that's what I was gonna say. I think so. Isn't it in our,
We have to sign something in the week.
yeah,
Disclosure.
yes, disclosures and so on.
I think it's
Okay.
overkill. if We have it here.
And then I also gave you some items, the third bullet point on that first page of my review document. Things that have come up on a staff level in the year or so that I have been here. Which are, and again, you can feel free to include these or not, but the former town manager had some real concerns with what his authorities were and were not, and when items had to come to the council for a vote. For instance, the approval of grant applications, the approval of grant awards, also bids, RFPs, and awarding of contracts. So I did give you some notes there, which we don't have to go into tonight, but just so it's kind of on everyone's.
I'm sorry,
brain.
where are you referencing?
On that.
Where's she? talking?
Yeah,
My email, alright,
The
yeah.
document that I sent over, with the red lines and comments.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, Matt, I should have
No,
printed.
oh
them.
no, that's all right. I've got one here.
I just wasn't
Here we
sure,
go,
and again,
okay.
it's just a suggestion, if you wanted to add impactful language. The town, my former town, had a very different type of policies and procedures document. It was about 140 pages long, which clearly you don't need to do that here. But some of the things that just would be helpful, I think, on a staff level to be codified are when things can be approved or signed or awarded by the town manager without coming to you for a formal vote versus what needs to come to you for a formal vote. From what I can find, it was not codified, and there were, when Tom first started, there was a grant application that we needed to fill out. And he wasn't sure if it had to come to. We went and looked at past practice. We looked at former, prior minutes and agendas, and it kind of was a mixed bag of when things came to you.
Mhm.
So.
How long did that take to figure out?
Couple days going back and forth, trying to figure out, the real thing was the institutional knowledge, right? I mean, I was relatively new, Tom was new, the town planner was new, like everyone involved was relatively new. And so it kind of, when you have turnover of staff, you lose that institutional knowledge. And I just think that those things would be helpful to be codified in a new section for not only staff, but for the future town manager.
I agree that the things need to be codified, but I really don't think this is the place to do it.
That was
quite
gonna be my
frankly.
question.
Either in a finance or or every department head, should, if you're doing a grant, blah, 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 blah. But no one's gonna look into town council rules and procedures, talk about minutes and
Yeah.
voting and whatever, for that level of detail. But I agree, it needs to be somewhere,
Yeah,
and maybe, we can figure out.
Maybe an order.
Yeah, I agree, whether it's a Yeah, that's, to me, sounds like something that would, it can, this is very invasive way to do it. There's probably another way we can go, but that it comes to the level in my mind that it's something that could even go in the charter, means I don't know that this is the appropriate place for it to go. So maybe I agree, though. I think it should be written down. Absolutely. So,
So if anything, we'll
Where
bring
else
that up
could
to the rest of
we-
the council.
Yeah.
That's what we'll probably bring that up to the rest of the council.
and could we, recommend that among our recommendations, we're gonna vote on recommendations to bring to the council, recommend that certainly not here, but somewhere else, that they do codify that.
Mhm.
Could we add that within our recommendations? Okay, great. Any other items that you had, Lauren? Anything? Yeah, good.
All right, so then
I'm good.
we'll move on to public participation, you guys. Anyone?
Please,
Anyone to add?
join the party.
Yeah, anyone, I don't know if there's anyone online.
Online, they've since left.
Uh,
I guess they.
It's Rose.
Maybe.
Block off and clicking into another meeting.
Yeah, there's like 3 meetings probably.
Yeah.
Do we need to set the date of our additional
We-
meeting now, or should we?
And we can determine it offline. It's really up to you. If you have
How long do you think you reasonably need?
a couple days.
A few
Okay.
days. I mean, we're meeting next week as a full council. You're welcome.
Pardon me, because I think that the intention was to have an executive session next Tuesday prior to your regular meeting.
Yeah.
We can touch base offline. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're okay with that, if both you are.
Yeah, well, because we need 48-hour notice or to post too. Oh, so like the soonest we could do is Friday, but that would be, yeah. So let's aim for like the week of, the first week of March.
Okay.
And we
these
could
next
text.
2 weeks are pretty.
Yeah, you booked up there, yeah. Okay, so we could text about it. No big deal.
Yeah, because you are going to be going also into your budget.
Yeah.
schedule, so,
Yeah, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
but I would like to get this done with and in the books too, yeah.
Absolutely.
Just one less thing.
I'll look at all the different meeting schedules, and when I send out the red one in the next day or two, I'll also just send you some suggestions for times that seem to work.
Great,
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you, Lauren, for
thank
everything. Appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, excuse me.
So moved. All right, yeah, well, all right, we are adjourned.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, all right.